Greetings, YouTubians, and welcome back to Wayne Sharp World, where today we have another Kubi to take a look at on the channel, and this is one that really popped out to me as nothing like super crazy unique, but it was one of those models that was very simple, but it also didn't look too much like anything else at first glance, so those grab my attention nowadays. And what we have here is the Kubi Bellis. Now, before I go any further in this review, I'd like to thank you guys for tuning in today. If you like what you see, please do me a huge favor, hit that subscribe button, follow along, and I will continue to bring you the content. Now, let's take a look at some overall specs on this very nice little EDC knife right here. We have an overall length coming in at 7.01 inches, a blade length coming in at 2.95 inches, and a blade thickness at 120 thousandths. Blade width on this guy is a slightly wider than average, 1.10 inches, and a blade material of AUS 10, which is kind of becoming the norm for the budget-minded Kubis. And I don't have a huge issue with it. I would rather see 14C28N, which you do see on some models, but AUS 10 is a decent steal. We have a drop point style blade with a flat grind, a handle length coming in at 4.13 inches, and a handle thickness at, again, 510 thousandths. I'm seeing a lot of handles right around that 500 thousandths, half an inch thick spec, and I like that. I think it's a really good thickness for a lot of knives, budget or premium. We have a handle material of G10, a liner lock, a user of a right or left hand tip up carry, a weight coming in at 3.84 ounces, and a price, 70 bucks. I have a little something to say about the price of these Kubis. It's 70 bucks, and we'll get to that a little later in the review. But first, let's do some size comparisons and take a look at this. This knife, again, like I said in the very beginning, it's nothing special, but it's like that perfect simplicity that I haven't seen from Kubi, I don't think ever. Let's compare it here to the Vosteed Raccoon, as well as your Kaiser Gemini. As you can see, it's a little shorter than both of these, which I think help gauge the size. But the next two knives I got coming up here, these next two knives really kind of remind me of a mishmash. Like if you combine these next two knives, you would get the Kubi Bellis. And it took me a while to really see it, but what I'm talking about is the Civivi Elementum, as well as the Kaiser Towser S. Now hear me out here for a second. What I get from each one of these, obviously they're very close in length. They're the Bellis is slightly longer than both, but I kind of get like the blade from the Elementum, only it's not a hollow grind, it's a flat grind. And then the handle is very much like the Elementum, but it's a little thicker and wider like the Towser S. So it really is, for me, kind of a mashup. You also got the finger choils and everything. A lot of similarities between these two knives. Nothing direct, but nice little subtle similarities. So that's really kind of what I pulled together to get exactly what we have here, which is the Kubi Bellis. Now let's talk about this blade. Because it's a very nice little drop point blade, and I've said it before, I'll say it again, you can't beat a good drop point blade. There's very few things in terms of blade shape that are better than a drop point blade. I personally don't think anything is. It's my favorite shape. I love a sheep's foot, love a Wharncliffe, but a drop point really is kind of that perfect shape for me. And it has a nice edge. It comes down to 16 thousandths, which is a nice slicey little edge. Thickens up rather quick, so you have kind of a stronger blade because, like I said, it's thin at the bottom, and then, yeah, I just feel like it gets thicker a little quicker, even though it's still only 120 thousandths thick stock, so that may just be me. I think one of the reasons that give me that vibe is you have a nice robust tip up here, as to where sometimes blades that are 16 thousandths behind the edge, they tend to have a thinner tip, but the way this blade is ground, you don't have that. You have kind of a chunker of a tip here, which is not a bad thing. You still have a very sharp edge and a nice robust tip to do some good work with. So nothing wrong there. And the finger choil, it's not that full Spyderco finger choil, but it's enough for me to safely use. I can put my index finger all the way up here. I wouldn't be too worried about getting cut. I mean, I would be a little careful, but I wouldn't be too worried because it's in that position where I can pull my finger back. I'm pulling back away from the sharpened edge, so I feel comfortable using that. You also have a very nice combination of flipper and thumb studs with perfect jimping. This actually really reminds me of the Civivi treatment in terms of jimping. Nice all the way around the flipper. I wish some other budget companies would do that. Some other budget companies that I really love. This is the key to a perfect flipper. Take note, everybody that is into knife making, this is how you make a perfect flipper. You got nice traction, nice jimping all the way around the rounded part of the flipper, and then it dies off at this point because anything under here you just don't need. But you need everything else above that. You get that good traction, you get the good action, and you get a nice, confident, secure flip. Very, very nice. Well done job there. And the thumb studs are good as always. Kubey usually does a pretty good job with their thumb studs and the placement and size and all that good stuff. So nothing wrong there. Good to go. You go into the handle and pretty nice ergos. It feels a little bit compact for me. I have slightly wider hands. They're not real thick, but when you get a handle this small, you know, I got to really make sure my hand is all the way up to get a full 4-finger grip, which I do get a full 4-finger grip, but you don't have any real estate after that. That's all you got, which again, you can always use that finger choil and choke up, and then I do have more. So it all depends how you want to use this. This is probably how I would use it a lot. But based off the design of this handle, I could really see myself using it a lot without the choil as well. So I like the versatility and grips that gives me personally because I'm usually a choil guy all the way. But because of this handle shape and size, I'm okay not using the choil too. So kind of a good problem to have there in terms of how I want to hold it. In terms of the G10, Kubey does a really good job of putting, I think, the most aggressive texturing they can on G10 without getting too aggressive. I think I just said that yesterday too about the Remet. The Remet had a really good texturing. This is slightly more texturing, but again, it's not too much. It's not too much. You get it and you feel it, but it doesn't grate your jeans. It doesn't wear. It just gives you that secure grip that we're looking for on a knife. And it's really, really good. The clip's good. It's your typical Kubey clip. You have a little more space. There was a problem in the past. I feel like some Kubeys didn't quite have the clearance back here because usually Kubey clips are not fully recessed, which is fine because the screws are, so you have enough room. But the problem is where that bent over clip comes over the end of the bottom of the clip base. Sometimes you get a little too tight there and it can cut up on your pants hems. Or pocket hems, which you don't have that problem with this. Plenty of room there, good to go in those regards. And lastly, in terms of the handle, you have very nice liner lock action. This really reminds me of, there's a lot of notes on this knife that do remind me of Civivi. Very similar flipper, very similar liner lock action. So some pretty good stuff there. Anytime you're being compared to Civivi or Kaiser, you're doing a really good job. Action. Perfect. Perfect detent. The detent is crisp. It's not too light, but it's light enough to really flip that blade out. And like I said, I feel like there's just a little more heft in this blade, especially up towards the tip with that thicker tip. And it falls shut. Well, maybe not falls shut, but shakes shut very, very easily. Light shakes, and the blade's closing for you. Really like the flipper on this. I really enjoy this pretty minimal flipper. You can push button it or light switch it. It's great. Middle finger flicking, good to go. And thumb flicking is, whoop, a breeze. It's always hard when I'm trying to talk and run it all off at the same time. I feel like I'm racing against my words. So sometimes that'll cause me to mess up the flip of a blade. But no issue with thumb studs whatsoever. Really no issues with this knife at all, to be honest. This is one of the better Kubey offerings I've ever handled. This, I think, would be in my top 3. I think I would put this up there with the Manganis. I can't remember the name of it. Yeah, can't remember the name of it. One of these days I'll do a top 5 Civivi, but this or top 5 Kubey. This would definitely be in my top 3 though. Now for that $70 price tag, I don't have a huge issue with it. I'm not going to say it's too much, but Kubey needs to do a little extra something now because they were getting to the point to where they were really, in my opinion, they were starting to put a little pressure on, maybe not pressure, but they were starting to get up in the talks. They were starting to be like Civivi and Kaiser, and then you had Kubey in that group that was right there. and they're still there, but Kubi, I want something a little more from Kubi now. They've been doing the same thing for a long time, and they've been doing a really good job at it. But I want to see maybe a little rebrand, maybe a little something. I don't know, something to make me just a little more satisfied when I spend $70 on a Kubi knife. Because I can get some really good Civivis for less than $70, like this Civivi Sokoke here, designed by Laconico, for $65. This knife beats that knife every single day of the week. And I'm not dogging this knife. I'm simply saying there's a lot of competition below $70. So to come in at $70, it's got to be really good. And this is really good, but again, I want to see a little extra something now from Kubi. I want them to kick it up just a little notch. I want to see something else. Maybe it's a little rebrand. Maybe it's a 14C28N. Maybe it's minimizing the branding and, a little less weird branding. It's like a monkey with headphones and Western font. I don't know. Change up a little something. I think that would be cool. But even as is, this is a very, very nice knife. I would definitely recommend it, especially if you like kind of that shorter, thicker, chunkier style of knife, but still it has that little bit of length to where it's not quite as chunky as something like a Towser S. It's got a little bit of heft, but it's also got the slightly, slender, longer looks too. So it's a really good design, good materials, reasonable price. And in my opinion, this is like flagship model material for Kubi. I would really like to see them keep this size and then also bring out like a 3.5-inch bladed length. I think that would be really nice to have two sizes of this because it really is just a very, very smooth, simple, but just really good design. And I really enjoy it. Let me know what you guys think of the Kubi Bellus. Really hope you enjoyed this one. Hope you have a great rest of your day. And until the next one, I'm out.